Hi, my name is Odara and today let's discuss about Scrum. We are familiar with the word Agile and we all know if you want to make a modern software, now we cannot directly go for waterfall. We have to go for waterfall in iteration. So we know what Agile methodology is and why to use them. Now, one of the frameworks which you can implement Agile is Scrum. We have other options as well. So we have Kanban and we can go for XP as well. But the widely used framework for Agile is Scrum. Now, if you go to the website, which is scrum.org, they simply say it is a better way of building products. It's a lightweight framework and it's being simple to understand and difficult to master. So, who uses Scrum? So 90% estimated Agile teams use Scrum and it is being practiced everywhere. And the good thing is, it has only one Scrum guide. So therefore, there is only one definition for Scrum. And if you can see the image here, this is the official image from scrum.org. So let's imagine you want to build a product. And let's take Facebook app as an example. So let's think that you need to build Facebook app and it is not available currently. So in this case, you are going to get many requirements to build this app. So what you can do is prioritizing the requirements. Maybe in your prioritized list, you will have, let's say, the news feed, the chat window, and showing images and videos in the feed. So let's take these three requirements as the prioritized requirements. So now, if you are following Scrum, Scrum normally goes with the sprint. Now, what is a sprint? So let's say the entire project might take 1 year. But of course, you will not be waiting for the entire year to deliver the product. And of course, the client will not be waiting for you to deliver the product in 1 year. So what you can give something to your client every 2 weeks or maybe 1 week. Maybe depend on your speed. So maybe after 2 weeks, you will deliver a product. Now, this can be potentially deployable product. But you have to think that not every deployment or every product that you give to your client after 2 weeks will be deployed. If client wants to deploy it, it's their choice. What if we do like this? So the entire product requirement, you will take some of the requirements each week. To understand this, so we have the first one over here, the product backlog. So we have the entire backlog here, which have all the requirements from start to end. Also, you can add requirements later as well because this is not the fixed requirements. And that's why you can see the small boxes in the product backlog here. Here, which we know, if we have a big requirement, we can break down that and take them to the current sprint. The other requirements you can have in the product backlog as it is. So we do the sprint planning and create the sprint backlog. From the product backlog, so now you will start building the products. So then we need to have the daily Scrum. So you can see it here. So every day, maximum 15 minutes, the team should gather and they will discuss. So we are familiar with that, right? So this will be a stand-up meeting. So why we are calling it a stand-up is because we don't want to waste your time discussing every aspect of time, things there. So if we think of who's going to do this and the team of the Scrum, so the Scrum team basically have a Scrum Master, product owner, and a development team. In Agile, you need a small team with maybe around 4 to 8 people max. If we talk about the product owner is the one who will represent a client, but that is not the client. So he will be the representative of a client or a stakeholder. So the client will give all the requirements to the product owner and you will get the requirement from the product owner. So the next role is very important, which is the Scrum Master, who is responsible to manage the entire Scrum working. So the development team will be focusing more on the development work. So there needs someone who will manage the Scrum meetup. And the daily stand-up, the sprint retrospective that we will discuss, and helping people achieving tasks that will be done by the Scrum Master. So you can see some responsibilities of the Scrum Master here I have pointed out. And if we talk about the development team, right? So do they really have one tester, one developer, and one deployer? Not exactly. This is a cross-functional team. So basically, every person should know everything. The advantage of this is, let's say someone has got ill and not coming to work, so you don't have to depend on that person because you know that how to do that task. So that is the importance of that. So the development team will be cross-functional, not depending on others, and they will be self-organizing. Next, if we go to discuss the Scrum Artifacts, we have product backlog, sprint backlog, and something called the increment. So the first two we already discussed, and let's move to the increment. So let's say now you have a team with you, and this team is working on the product, and after the first sprint you will give something to the client. So that is called the increment. So what is an increment? You can imagine that is a potentially shippable product. So let's say you build Facebook app. The initial requirement we developed as features will be the increment, and this is not the exact Facebook app the client wanted, but you got something, right? So you can deploy the product on the first 2 weeks. So this is the increment. I hope you get the scenario of what the increment is. And it may happen on your first sprint, you will not be able to complete all the sprint backlog. Now what you do? You will send the remaining backlog in the next sprint. Yes, that is possible, and there is no high and fast rule to complete that. But before even going for the next sprint, what you have to do is Scrum event that is called the sprint retrospective. So let's see what a sprint retrospective or the sprint retro is. Now, think about this when you're working on a sprint. Now, in that 2 weeks of time, in a sprint, you understood something. You have learned something and you did something well. So this is what you do in the sprint retrospective. So normally, you talk about what worked well, you talk about what could be improved in the next sprint, and what will be coming to do in the next sprint. So that is basically your Scrum framework. So if we move to Scrum events, we discuss a sprint, sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint retrospective, or the sprint review. So how do we implement this? There is one important thing in Scrum, which is the Scrum board. So basically, when you work on a requirement as a team, you should know what's happening on the project. There should be a clear picture on what the progress is, right? So let's say we have 6 people and they're working on a product. Of course, you have the sprint backlog there. So you can create a board like this. So in the first column, you have the entire backlog as stories. Then you can specify what you're currently working and the progress of it. So in Agile, when you say done, so you can see in the last column, right? It should be done, right? If the product is not working, it's not done. So when it is 100% completed, you can put in the last column. So it is developed, tested, and ready for the shipment. So that is your done definition. And if you can do that, you're basically following Agile and you're working in the Scrum framework. So that's about the Scrum framework, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.